Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. Well, I have seen for a while now a big push for people to leave the U.S. As a matter of fact, many people say that the American dream does not exist in America anymore. The American dream is abroad. So, listen, what I've also noticed, though, is that even though people leave the U.S., that doesn't mean that they don't want to still invest in the U.S. And I'm going to just go over a number of ways in which you can invest while you are overseas without dealing with too much maintenance. As many of you guys know, I've done gut rehabs remotely, and they were very stressful. I got ripped off by contractors, cheated on by tenants, and even the government wasn't all that supportive, to be quite honest with you. So I really don't encourage people to do flips or gut rehabs, even to be a landlord, and I am a landlord, not remotely. You can do it remotely. There are ways in which it can be done, which would be less stressful, but I still don't recommend it. I still don't recommend it, especially for people whose knowledge is limited when it comes to real estate, and especially with people whose network is limited. To be quite honest with you, the network part is the biggest piece, because you can have the knowledge, you can have the book knowledge, but if you don't have the network, if you don't have somebody that you can pick up the phone and call and that will do the work that you pay them to do immediately, then it's a waste. It's a bust. Don't bother. Honestly, don't bother with it at all. But I know of some investments that, you can do. All investments have risk, but let's face it, there are some investments that are a lot riskier than others. All right, so let me get into it. One of the things that you can invest in is called REITs. Those are real estate investment trusts. They are on the stock market. Basically, you buy shares in a trust that builds schools, storage units, apartment buildings, hospitals, that kind of thing, right? Now, you do have to do your own research, of course, but for the most part, you are considered being a part of real estate if you were to buy those. They tend, for the most part, to pay you dividends, which you can either reinvest or cash out. They're very liquid, which is great. So you can put the money in and then take the money out. However, I will say this, that if you take the money out within a year, then your capital gains tax is going to be kind of high. So if you do put that money in, if you do buy one, I would say try to think about keeping it in there for at least 3 years. And if you're going to pull out, don't pull all of the money out. Pull out a small percentage of it. That's what I say. All right. The next way to invest that I have on my list is through crowd funds. Now, with crowd funds, they typically are a little bit more expensive than REITs, because you can actually buy a REIT for a fraction, right? Because Stockpile, for example, they sell different REITs for like $5, okay? But typically, like if you're going to buy from Vanguard or Fidelity, they're going to want you to put in at least $3,000. All right, with crowd funds, things are a little bit different. With crowd funds, they typically want you to put in something like $10,000 minimum. There's a few that charge less, maybe like $5,000, but basically I would say the majority of them want you to put in at least $10,000. The other thing that you need to know about crowd funds is that they're not as liquid as REITs. With crowd funds, they normally require anywhere between 3, 5, 7, and I've even seen some for 10 years. It's up to you what you feel comfortable with. Okay. Personally, I don't feel comfortable with 10 years. I feel more comfortable with 3 and 5 years. That's when I want my money back, and that's when I want to see my return, you know. But to each his own. To each his own. Okay. And just like REITs, crowd funds typically, honestly, are into commercial buildings, commercial properties, and normally office buildings and apartment buildings is what I have personally seen when it comes to crowdfunding. All right. Next on the list are tax lien certificates. Now, not all of them though. Not all of them, because there are some counties that still require you to physically be at the auction. But more and more counties are allowing you to bid online, right? So you can bid online. Some you bid on the face value, as far as like how much in taxes is owed on the property. And then others you bid down on the interest rate. And, you know, some counties, they differ as far as how much of a percentage they pay. Some pay 20%, some pay 18%, some pay a lot less, especially if you're bidding down. All right. So tax lien investing is definitely something that you can do remotely. You don't have to physically be there in order to put in a bid for certain counties. You can just put that online. Now you may say, well, don't I need to look at the property? Well, here's the thing. You can look at the property. You can look at the property online, but there are services that you can pay a fee, and the fees range anywhere between $8 and $60, where they will go and take pictures of the property for you. Now, they can't go inside. Normally, they can't go inside, especially if people are living there. You might, I've heard some people go inside if the property is vacant, but that's very dangerous to do, because you don't know if a homeless person went in there and decided to take over the property, because that happens too. Okay. But basically, you can have someone take pictures of the outside of the property, the front, the side. They can even take pictures across the street. That can be done. And again, you can do that remotely. Or you can even look it up on either Google Earth or Google Maps, as long as the dates are current. The next way that you can invest in real estate remotely without much headaches is my favorite way. That's with mortgage notes. That's right. There are sites in which you can purchase the notes. Even Facebook sells. There are certain groups that are dedicated to buying mortgage notes. You can buy mortgage notes there as well. And same thing, you can pay somebody to take pictures for you. You're not really allowed to go inside of the property at all. Okay, so I had in my group, we had somebody from Australia. He lived in Australia and he was buying mortgage notes here in America. He never stepped foot on the property. Never. Okay. Now, when it comes to tax liens and mortgage notes, you may say to yourself, well, if the redemption period ends, for example, with the tax lien, and the people don't pay, don't you have to foreclose in order to take the property for yourself? The answer is yes, you do. However, you don't have to physically go to court. You can pay an attorney. You have to get an attorney anyway, but the attorney can represent you in court. You do not have to physically go there. And they'll foreclose on the property for you. You just send them all of the paperwork. Okay? Now, in some cases, in some instances, if you buy the note and it's a very sticky note, all right, I would avoid the sticky, I'm moving ahead of myself. When it comes to the tax liens, and yes, with mortgage notes too, you would also have to foreclose. Definitely be careful when you are buying these things. I do have a course on how to buy mortgage notes. But in case they do want you to show up, a number of them, you only show up during Zoom. A lot of court cases are recorded. Okay. Now, there are some places, though, where they're not recording the court case, and you can't show up through Zoom. And that one of those states is definitely Alabama. So if you are going to buy a tax lien certificate or a mortgage note and you are living remotely, I would strongly advise you not to buy in those particular states if it's a non-performing mortgage note. If it's a performing mortgage note, no problem. But if it's non-performing mortgage note or if it's a tax lien certificate, then I would say for that particular state, I would say no. Okay? But typically, you really don't need to leave wherever it is you're from to come to the United States. The lawyer will represent you, or if anything else, worst case scenario, you want to be able to do this through Zoom. But that's why it's important that you don't do it on your own, because a lot of people want to do that. They're like, oh, it sounds easy, let me do it on my own. No, you want to work with people who actually have experience in this particular area. Okay? And also the other thing too, when it comes to mortgage notes, as I brought up, you have really two types, if you will. You have performing notes and non-performing notes. I would definitely not buy a non-performing note if I lived in another country or was a slow traveler or a snowbird. I would not do that. I would stick to the performing notes, because when you buy a performing note, you rarely ever have to go to court. That person is paying on time every month, and even if they pay late, that's just them paying late. Okay, a non-performing note is a sticky note, and I would definitely not recommend that for somebody who is overseas, even though the guy from Australia was buying non-performing notes. Go figure. All right. All right. So then the next area that I definitely would look into, okay, is be a private lender. Why? Private lender, you're not a flipper, you're not a rehabber. You're loaning your money to flippers and rehabbers who, for whatever reason, need money to finish their fix and flip. The research that you do to make sure everything is legitimate can all be done on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet. Again, you can pay people to go and make sure that the property actually exists. You go and you pay a lawyer to go over the documents, and you charge the people a legal fee when you're a private lender. If they do not pay you back within a certain amount of time as specified on the contract that you have with them, that's normally 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 18 months, whatever the time frame is. They don't pay you back your money with interest. You do what? You foreclose on the property, and the property is yours. So now you may be thinking to yourself, if I foreclose on the property becomes mine. Don't I have to maintain it? No, you don't. What you would do is you would find a realtor or a developer and say, hey, just acquired this house. What can you give me for it? So you sell it immediately. You don't keep it. Unless, of course, you want to. But if you keep it, that's maintenance. We're looking at no maintenance right now. Okay? So that's basically what you do, guys. And when you do private lending, it can be for anything. It can be for an apartment building, a multifamily. It's up to you. Just make sure your name is on the paperwork. That's very important. And it has to be secured by real estate. Make sure that your lawyer goes over every single thing with you before you sign it. Now, there is another group that I've been put onto through my local Real Estate Investors Association. And I signed up for it recently, basically because of two members. One particular member, whenever we get together, we talk it up, right? He's an associate of mine, and he's done a deal with them. And another lady, she's done 5 deals with them. So what it is, it's a company called Fractional. You have to be invited in. You have to look at their Zoom. And then afterwards, it's $100 flat fee, $5,000 if you want to get into a deal. It's a collaboration environment. They meet every Monday, and someone in the group has a deal. Sometimes it's more than one person, of course, that has a deal. They present it to everybody, and everybody does a deal deep dive to see whether or not it's worth getting into. Does everybody participate in the actual deal? No. Whoever has money to loan to the person who has the deal on the table, that is the person, and you trust, and you are good with the deal and what have you, that's the person that you do business with. Now, what I like about Fractional is that they do verify you. They've also verified the deal. They make sure that the deal actually exists, that the house is actually there, that the paperwork is also actually in order. Okay, so basically, when you guys get together to collaborate, it's more or less deciding, okay, this is a good deal to go forward with. This is the percentage that should be paid out. This is the amount of time that it's going to take for this deal to make interest, etc., etc. And if you like it, you move forward. If you don't like it, or if you like it and you just don't have the money, you just don't move forward. That's just how it goes. Okay. This, again, can be done from anywhere because it's done, the meetings are on Zoom. And from my understanding also, the money doesn't exactly go directly into the pocket of the person doing the deal. It actually goes into an escrow. So I'm going to feel this out and see how I like this. I feel positive about it only because people that I know did well in it. They got 15% interest, and that's way better than what I'm getting at the bank. I don't know about your bank, but if your bank is paying 15% interest, please let me know in the comments because I will definitely sign up. But yes, fractional allows you to be a private lender. Okay, and it also allows you to be a deal maker. It's completely up to you which way you want to go. Okay, and on top of that, right, you also have the choice to be a partner. You can be a temporary partner, or you can be a permanent partner. Freedom, complete freedom as far as how you want to do this. But when it comes to partnering, just be careful with that, because typically when you partner is like a marriage, and partner sometimes requires a little bit more maintenance than when you just come in as a temporary partner or as a private lender. Okay, and listen guys, there are many different platforms I'm seeing out here that offer the same thing or offer something similar. Definitely check those out, and feel free to also, if you want to, if you had experience with those other platforms, post those in the comment section, and share with all of us, because sharing is caring. Okay guys, all right, so that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully this information will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now, until next time. Have a good night.